Hey guys, Clickety Clack Adventures here today. I'm going to do a layout video, and so here's the layout. It's not very big. It's kind of like wide on this side, and then it's really narrow over here. But it's kind of compact. Like the quarry and the docks are literally touching each other. Same with Marin Station, and Knapford Station and the quarry are like, like you could literally walk from station to station. But this is not all the stuff I have, and these are not all the trains either. I definitely have a lot more trains than this, and there's just a couple of them more. But let's just get right ahead into this layout video. So I guess we'll start at Knapford Station. So here are the four engines. Gordon is with a coach. Thomas has Annie and Clarabelle, of course. Percy has the recycling cars, and Edward has the chocolate car. So first we'll start with Gordon. And he's over here on this end track, and he'll come down here to the level crossing where Bulgy is just idling there. And then this piece comes around, and there is Madge and Billy. And it comes to a T-switch, and if you go up this way, you go to Edward and Percy's line. And if we take Edward's line, we go over here, and then if we go back, here's Oliver, and if we go back here, that just goes back to that T-switch. And if we go up Oliver's path, though, Oliver's path goes up over here to the Bay Bridge, and this, of course, is broken. And this comes over here to Marin Station, where Donald and Douglas are. Donald on top and Douglas on the bottom. And then that comes downhill, and if you go this way, it's the docks where this, I think, is, I don't even know what the hell this is. I think it's the Flying Kipper. It doesn't look like the Flying Kipper, but just pretend it's the Flying Kipper. And there's Henry. And if you come back around this way, there's Toby. And if you come back this way, it goes under here, around, and there is our good friend Percy with the recycling cars, and that just comes back over here. Now, like I said with Edward's line, if we go back instead of to Oliver, here's the quarry, and there's actually a lot going on for a really small space. It's just a tank turntable. I like to call it a tank turntable. That's not what it's officially called. It's not wooden railway though. And just a quick note, like 95% of this stuff is wooden railway, but there's gonna be a few here and there that's not. So this is one of them. This little tank turntable, and it only fits about the size of like Thomas or Percy or Mavis here, or a cargo car. But that type of size range and smaller. And then you got Bill, Ben, the whole pack. And if we come this way, there is Douglas, and you go up here. Here's Derek, and that splits into Gordon and Thomas. Now if we go to Thomas's line, because we already saw Gordon's, Thomas is this long piece of track here, and that goes up. And if you go straight back, there's the sheds, and let's just pretend Harold is on fire. And there's the Flying Scotsman in the siding. He can't move because he don't got no tenders. Because when you pick things up at a yard sale, they don't come complete. But that's another episode for another story. And there's Diesel with a coal car. And that's Frank with the dairy cars. And if you go up this way, on the second Bay Bridge, there's Derek, back to that line. And if you go this way, there's Timmins Station. And just to get a better view, I'll readjust my angle. And there is Mike waiting for some packages to bring to Gordon and Thomas, so the luggage gets there. And then you can go over here, up over the Archstone Bridge. Well, it's a variation of it. I don't know if they still call it that. And here's the docks. Here's Salty. And then that just goes back to Henry. And so if you take Salty's line and you go to where Toby was over here, then you can go back to Gordon and up here. And if you go down, if you make a right at that T-switch over there, so you're facing my direction and you make a right, kind of that way, there it goes through that tunnel over here to whatever station you want to call this. There's where James is, and I just put two little buildings over here on a piece of track, just for realisticness. And there's one of the non-wooden railway items. It's just two Brio coaches. And I did not incorporate the narrow gauge railway into here because I wasn't going to... My plans were not to use narrow gauge this season. But in future seasons, I probably will build in a narrow gauge railway. And these coaches will be the narrow gauge coaches. Because they kind of look like narrow gauge coaches if you really analyze them. But that's for another video. Onward with the... tour. So if we go up here, there's Terrence the tractor, and then that comes down, and there's loops around. If you go back, there's Duck with a tree, and there's a log, and that goes under here, around. There's George, and he seems to have just paved out the entire track. And we all know, Thomas especially does not like when that happens, because what happened with Thomas is he crashed into a barn, as Alec Baldwin or Michelangelo told the story, depending on where you live. But, so it goes under the Archstone Bridge, and here is Arthur. Oh, and this just goes back over here, so it's kind of like a little loop, just to turn yourself around. And anyway, here's Arthur with the breakdown train, and Daisy fell off the line, and there's Harvey behind there. Stupid Daisy. And here's, if you go back here, that's just Henry. So, this is the whole layout, and I'm just going to give you guys an overview. Sorry about all that back there. There's the fire trucks and everything. It's more long, it's not really, like, squared or anything, and there's not a lot to build off of here, because I still need closet space and space to do other stuff, but, you know, I could probably build over here a little bit, but it's not going to be